Hello and welcome to the LCS report. It might be the off season, but that doesn't mean there's no League of Legends to talk about. So we're here. But before we get started, just as usual, hit that subscribe button. It really does help the channel, helps us get to more people. Join the Discord. We've been trying to make the Discord more active. We have morning teas every day of the week now, where we pose questions to the community, and the community kind of like has a discussion. It's quite fun. Follow us on Twitter because we're going to be more active, whether it's our socials or the LCS reports Twitter account as well. And lastly, we have a special episode on Saturday with the crossover podcast, which is David Shynock and Paul Green. We're going to be talking about how to make the LCS great again since the LCS is back. Having said that, let's just get right into it. C9 David is a legend. He went for an entire year. C9 David Hahn, their general manager, has spent like a whole year trying to make this work. And obviously he had to work with Kespa, he had to work with the Mark Z and like the Riot side, on both sides probably, and figure out a way to have something for C9 in the offseason. He tried to get them into Korea, tried to get them in Kespa Cup, and he succeeded. So now we have C9 and they get to bring along a person, I'm assuming just to keep it as a even numbers of teams. So they brought in Team Liquid. Shout out to Team Liquid for just being ready. I'm sure if you told other teams like a month ago, they'd be like, oh, our players, we gave them a vacation. They might not be like, we might not even have them sign. Like, we're not entirely sure. So shout out to both those teams for making it. And special shout out to C9's general manager. Amazing job by him. This is extremely exciting. I mean, the last time, I feel like last time was like, what, 2014, 2013, where we had something like this happen. I know it's an off-season event. Even if we get like completely destroyed, it's just so cool to see us be in Korea and boot camp and get that experience and play against them. And I think that the format's already out, but like just being able to compete. I think it's such a cool initiative. I'm very proud that he did it. I even DM'd him. I was like, dude, you're amazing. This is like, I would not have even thought it as a possibility. The fact that not only did he realize it was a possibility, but he made it happen, that's just incredible.
And the thing is, from now until dawn of time, we are going to be getting these type of events like the Kesper Cup is now, unless it really, really goes bad, and like Kesper just decides we ain't doing that anymore. I think this opens the door now. Like C9 are the first, NA is the first. And I think that's what I really want to caveat first, because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, why wasn't G2 here? Why wasn't Shopify here? Why wasn't X team that's like they did better than them at the end of the season?" This wasn't a performance like thing. Like C9 and TL, yes, they didn't actually perform that well in playoffs. So that you may say, why are they getting invited? It's because C9 were the only team that decided, hey, I actually want to try and make history. And yes, like you said, this hasn't been done since 2013, 2014, like when Pro League was just a baby. And like when you had like CLG, and I know Don was posting about his performance when he did this like many years ago. So I think it's kind of fitting that the first time this does happen, he is part of one of the orgs that are attending. But yeah, I just wanted to make that caveat. It's not a performance thing. It's C9 had the will, and more importantly, David had the will to make history and like give something for us, because NA has been starved of off-season events. Like EU always has the Red Bull League of its own event. Like KC always has an event going. So yeah, it's just really nice to have something that the fans can now just sit back and enjoy. Yeah, okay. Even if C9 just do not make it out of the group, that's fine. It's a preseason. Like, I'm not going to be hedging my bets on like where they're going to finish in LCS lock-in based on like 4 best of ones.
Yeah, and the other thing you have to remember is that C9 last year held a show match against FearX, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And like they clearly wanted to do things for the offseason. They wanted these offseason events. They tested out, the show match where they were boot camping. And I think they realized like, hey, this isn't really what we want. We want something a little bit more. We want like a tournament kind of thing. We want to showcase our players, not just in a show match, but like something more. And I mean, again, props to them. Like you said, it wasn't based off performance. It only happened because C9 wanted it to happen. It wasn't like Kespa had 2 slots. It was C9 who like convinced Kespa to give them 2 slots.
Yeah.
So yeah, super shout out to them. As the tournament like gets closer, we'll talk more about it. Specifically, like the fact that it's on Disney and is going to be streamed exclusively on Disney, if I'm not mistaken. That's an interesting discussion. Like, obviously, if you don't have it, you have to pay for it. Would you pay for it? The timing is going to be weird. That is the discussion we want to have. That's actually a discussion we had on our Discord server on our morning tea or morning tea. But yeah, those are things that we do need to discuss. But the topic for today is actually the top 5 LCS splits of all time. Marn and I have separate lists. We haven't even discussed it. We haven't like we don't. I don't know what's on his list. He doesn't know what on my list is. We could have some similarities, but I had trouble fitting only 5, so I actually have 6. I have like an honorable mention and then 5. Maybe I can get my honorable mention out of the way and then we can go into 5. I don't know if you had the same problem and you end up having an honorable mention as well.
The thing is, actually, a lot of them do mesh together. Like, I actually had trouble remembering, like, wait, what year was this? But the most obvious ones, and my list is very biased. Like, just to point out, like, this isn't, like, for me, like, what I think is the best overall. This is my best, like, what did I get out of it? So,
I did the opposite.
Number 2 is, you're going to clearly see why I put that there.
Yeah, for me, I did the opposite. For me, I did not what my favorite splits were, because I think 2016 spring would be on there for sure. But I did what I thought, just like when you look at the storylines, were the best splits of LCS. So it's interesting. We actually have a lot more differences. So I'll go ahead and get started with my honorable mention. In my honorable mention is actually 2024 summer. I think the story of the split itself wasn't that great, wherein you had the top 3 teams and sort of everybody else. But when come playoffs, you had FlyQuest who like lost to Cloud9 2-0. Cloud9 was second seed, and Team Liquid had just went undefeated. No one had ever done it before. And then you have this situation where Team Liquid beat FlyQuest in a 5-game nail biter. You have Cloud9 completely collapsing, losing to 100 Thieves. No one expected this to happen. What on earth happened to Cloud9? But that wasn't even the end of it. The ending with the minions ending like LCS basically, because we had a feeling LCS was gone, right? We're gonna merge with CB Law. Like for that to be the finality of LCS felt very thematic to the LCS. It felt like it fit right in. The opening ceremony of having like Doublelift and Bjergsen holding the trophy and sort of giving the last final trophy to whoever the winner. I thought the package of the last 4 or 5 series really sort of what was incredible. I think it was some of the best like 5-game series, like 5 series in a row that we've had. But the rest of the split was pretty sleeper, if I'm being honest. Dignitas won 1 best of 3 and then lost all the other ones. Like it wasn't that great of a split. But the playoffs were cool, so that's why it's in my honorable mention.
Yeah, like, should I go on to my 5, or do you want to? Okay.
Yeah, you can go on.
My 5 may be my. I go back and forth between this. Is this my most painful experience as a fan, or second? But I've gone with 2017 spring.
Ooh.
Because there was so many things where I felt as a C9 fan I was absolutely robbed. Firstly, Jensen should have won MVP that spring. That guy was a monster. Like, and this is what I actually, at that period, disliked Kobe. Because he just kept saying, well, if I'm going to build a team, I'm going to build around Bjergsen, even though he's not performing better than Jensen. Jensen set the freaking kill record on the Blanc. If you remember, he had like 21 kills in like a very short game. I think it was against Apex, if I can't. Like, it was.
I think so too. Yeah.
It's some like really shit team, but like this is when Phoenix One was a thing, if I remember correctly. Yeah, like they finished 3rd, like Phoenix One, and this was a team like, why is that roster? There's no way to finish in 3rd. This is when like Mike Young was starting to like form, and this is when the TSM C9 rivalry was like budding. Like TOG were like kind of floating around at that time, but they weren't like the core, because this was the birth of, in my opinion, who should have been one of the greatest LCS players of all, like in all time, Contracts. Like the way this guy came in, he was shipped from C9 Academy straight up to the first team, like literally molded by High and the rest of the OG squad that were still in Academy at the time, or Challengers it was called. And you think like, and this guy immediately came in and he was absolutely slapping. Like one
His
of the games I
Kha'Zix, his
remember,
Graves, yeah,
that
clean.
it was specifically the Nunu game because at the time that Nunu wasn't a thing, and like the way he was pathing and completely gapped Svenskeren, I think it's like level 1, level 2, like immediately shut him out the game, and like they even I think they made a video on it, like highlighting how good his early game pathing was and actually, but yeah, and then the finals happened where, and this was a double of less TSM, like
Mm-hmm.
not gonna go into like what problems may or may not like have like happened why he wasn't playing. Like there was just so many things going around the panel of why Doublelift wasn't playing for TSM, even though it was meant to be a break. Like we don't know. Like, and we thought, oh man, we go down first game and then completely crushed him 2-1, and you're thinking, okay, we have the momentum, and then game 5. Oh no, sorry. We were down 2-0 in that finals actually, and then we crushed him. Yeah, we were down. We were going for the reverse sweep.
I don't think.
Yeah, we was.
I mean, keep going. I'll check. Yeah.
We were down 2-0, reverse sweeping them, going to reverse sweep them in game 5, and the Nami bubble happened.
Well, I don't think it was so much as the Nami bubble as it is Jensen just not pressing R.
Sure, but like that was just such a memorable play that like crushed the hearts of C9 fans who were finally feeling like, okay, we're now actually gonna get our championship after so long, after like being in the go at that time. It's just a wild ride.
Yeah, I think that split as a TSM fan, like a big Bjergsen fan, I was happy. I was definitely like I was nervous, man. You're right. You guys were trying to go for the reverse sweep. I forgot about that detail. We did win the first 2 games. With the I remember the Ivern and the Rengar. Now that I'm looking at the picks and bans, I actually do remember. But I remember game 5 obviously the most clearly because Jensen was like popping off on the Echo. He was like playing quite well, and then like just a couple times he dies, and yeah, it's over. It's kind of crazy to think about all these years ago. But I do think that Jensen was like incredible during that split. I think the reason, well, I feel like people weren't giving Bjergsen his credit of like why they gave him. It was also because Bjergsen was doing more on his team, which was something that was like, look, are we giving MVP based on how valuable you are to the team or how good individually you are? Because Jensen won first team All Pro, if I'm not mistaken, but Bjergsen's the one that won the MVP, and it was like, honestly, Wild Turtle was kind of running it a bit, and he was like, well, Bjergsen's a one-man team, whereas at least like Jensen had sneaky W at that time. Like Sneaky was playing quite well. You had contracts with like this super hype rookie that was playing well. Impact was amazing, just coming off that like top die split. So like he had more support, and I think that was the main issue. But I definitely felt like it definitely could have been if Jensen won MVP, that should have been the split. My 5th spot actually is a C9 collapse in 2020 summer. And the reason I picked 2020 summer is not specifically just because C9 collapsed, but the storyline, the entire split was so cool. You had this really weird format where just coming into, I think this was the year where like your spring record followed to your summer record, and then you also had the situation.
2021.
Okay, then maybe I'm confusing the years, but you also had the situation where like COVID hit, and like we were playing remotely now, and like for a time players were like, oh, I don't want to play remotely. Like this is weird. It was just like such a weird situation to be in. Yeah. And then you had like TSM. They brought in Kabe, right, from Splice because it's like really good AD carry, and they put him with freaking Dardoch, and then they're just like they give Kabe no resources when Kabe is like a high resource player. Like they don't play to Kabe at all, and then they blame Kabe for playing poorly when like you didn't give him the tools to succeed, and you're like, why didn't you succeed? They get rid of him. They have like treats in support. They end up bringing Biofrost in during playoffs. They bring in Doublelift back. They bring in like freaking Spica. Like it was such a weird split for TSM, And then if you look at the rest of the league, you have 100 Thieves with like Meteos dying, unfortunately. And then you have like contracts coming in and like beating Cloud9. And Cloud9 was this behemoth. They had just won Spring. FlyQuest was the only person that was close, and even then it wasn't like really close. And you're like, wait, FlyQuest? Really? This is a team that's like competing? It was just such a weird. And Team Liquid was like really who should be competing, but then Team Liquid, the split before, didn't even make it to playoffs. They finished in 9th place. Doublelift was like taking a vacation. Spring doesn't matter. It was like, okay, we brought in Tactical. This kid's amazing. It was like everything was hype except for who's gonna win, because Cloud9 is going to win for sure. It's like, okay, who's going to make Worlds, right? FlyQuest, can Golden Guardians beat TSM in the first phase, right? In the first bracket. And they beat them 3-0, and then they beat them they were up 2-0 in the lower bracket. And then TSM had to reverse sweep themselves, and then they had to go through 5-game series all the way. Cloud9 lose a 5-game series in the upper bracket. You're like, it's fine. They're going to make it back to the finals. They're probably going to win. And the cracks start showing, and TSM beat them, knocked them out. They don't even make Worlds. You're like, oh my god, it's a completely open. Like, who's gonna win? Is it Team Liquid? Is it FlyQuest? It just like the craziness of the collapse of FlyQuest, as well as like the rise of Golden Guardians and Team Liquid playing a lot better than last split, and suddenly like TSM figure it out. Like not even the last week of the regular split, like 2 weeks into playoffs, they figure it out, and they just barely squeak by Golden Guardians and barely beat Cloud9. You're like, oh my god, what is going on? Then they go 5 against Team Liquid. They beat Team Liquid to make it to the finals. They're up 2-0. And then like an hour pause, Wild Turtle, because of how hot it was during that summer, his entire like apartment complex, the power went out. So he had to drive an hour all the way to the office. He wasn't even playing with air conditioning, drove all the way to the office, got boot up on a computer there. And then apparently TSM completely lost focus and were like a little tilted by how long the pause was. And they lost the game 3, which they were completely crushing in, by the way. They lose that game. They lose game 4. They go into game 5. You're like, oh my god, what is happening? And then they win that game 5. But just that entire story, the entire sequence of how that happened, starting from like, honestly, the beginning of the split with Tactical joining Team Liquid and TSM basically bringing in 2 new players, eventually 3, it was a very, very exciting split.
Yeah, I'll only brush on it like quickly because I just realized how long this actually could take if we're both going both of our splits. But like yeah, it was a crazy time, like especially as a C9 fan where you fought like we started 9-0 in that split as well. Like we fought Arca, like no MSI, that sucks, but we'll go again. Started 9-0 and then lost a couple of games. I remember. I still think we ended like 16 and.
I think 3. I think you guys finished 15-3.
Yeah, it was still like a very good record, but like it's just the way we had no answers for anything that like the teams had in terms of like draft. Like I felt like we completely had no understanding of what was going on, and then that TSM series was absolutely embarrassing from our perspective. Like we had no idea how to counter the Renekton Nidalee that they're playing. But then also, it looked like we just said, fuck it. We're going to run back the Aatrox, Ezreal, Yuumi pairing and just hope that we can just turn back the clock to what we've been doing the entire year. No, that didn't happen. Yeah, like, that was just a great year for FlyQuest because that roster was like kind of mid, but it was greater than the sum of its parts. And they even like took a game off of TES. I remember at Worlds. Like it's just the roster, like it wasn't bad for like what it, but like it outperformed like really, really well.
Yeah, they made it both finals, and then they made it to Worlds, and they finished 3-3. So like they did what you would expect out of a roster that like. Again, this was Solo. It was in the top lane. Like you don't expect Solo to like be winning championships, and he was.
Worlds, man.
But it was Solo Santorin, Power of Evil, Wild Turtle, and then who's support? I'm blanking on the support. Was it Ignore?
May have been Ignore.
I think it might have been Ignore. Yeah. What's your number 5? That was my number 5. Yeah, you can go with number 4.
My number 4 was actually 2020 summer. So.
Okay, then we can both like, yeah, perfect. Well, why is it number 4 for you? Because I talked about why it was number 4 for me, for like just the narrative. I know you specifically talk about like your criteria was like personal, right?
it's just that really began like the cracks in what Reaper was as a coach for C9. Because before he
Mm-hmm.
was like the general, he knew how to get shit done with this team. He was actually clutch, even though did we ended up not winning a lot with him, but I don't think that was also due to him. I think that was due to TSM existed. So like someone had to be second, and I think it just happened to be us. But we still had our like moments in the sun at Worlds every time. So like it was like the payoff there. And like you always relied on him to be innovative. Like you saw the impact. Like I know it's a signature champion of his, but like he played Singe against WE. Freaking just allowing what was it? When he did like the Swole Bros swap. So like whenever we needed like a bit more aggression, we'd bring in Zvenska um and he allowed Licorice to play Hecarim at Worlds. Like literally a day before Worlds, like we were just he said fuck it, we'll go with it. And then it actually ended up being an amazing pick. It's just stuff like that where I feel like he just got complacent. It looked it from the outside looking in that he'd gone on. He did so much, but then as soon as we won, it felt like the cracks started to show for him, which is like really disappointed because we could have had a dynasty run with that C9 roster. Like I genuinely felt it. Like we should have. Like really.
It felt like the passing of the torch from Team Liquid. They had just won 4 splits in a row, didn't even make it to playoffs. By the way, the team they lost to, it was like a win or die, right? Situation. If they beat this team, they make it into playoffs. If they don't make it into playoffs. And they were winning that game. And then Cloud9 came back and actually beat them. And Sven was like, haha, like he got his revenge against them.
We did that
right?
like cheese back door against them as well, and like the flashing in front of the Ash arrow to stop them. Oh, it's really funny.
And so you knocked them out of playoffs, and it felt, and then you won the playoffs. It really did feel like, and then you started 9-0. It really did feel like this was not C9's era. Like TSM had their era. Team Liquid, CLG had like a little bit, but then it was back to TSM era, and then it was like very clearly the Team Liquid era, and it was supposed to be time for the Cloud9 era, and it just never came through. Okay, well if that wasn't your number 4, I'm glad that we're like agreeing on some of these. So yeah, if we kind of agree on things, we can kind of share the point. But my 4th is 2019 spring. I know we're going back to like this time, but I think the stories were really cool. 2019 spring comes after Team Liquid had just upgraded a roster that already won 2 splits in a row. And then throughout the split, you could tell like, hey, they're the number 1 team. They are the champions. They are the team to beat. And the only team that could beat them was TSM. But TSM wasn't even the second best team. They were the 3rd best team. The second best team was Cloud9. And Cloud9 was just beating up on TSM. Like TSM couldn't take a game off of Cloud9 during the regular split. But for some reason, they couldn't touch Team Liquid. So it was this weird triangle where Team Liquid will stomp C9, but lose to TSM. But then when it comes to Cloud9, they lose to Team Liquid, but they stomp TSM. So it's like, well, what is going on? And then you go into playoffs, and the format had changed from 2018. So now the format is Team Liquid gets to pick. Do they want to play Cloud9 or do they want to play TSM? And Bjergsen's like, sorry, do you want to play? I don't remember who was 4th place, but it was TSM or like a much weaker team. Maybe it was 100 Thieves or something. And then Bjergsen was like, okay, if they're not afraid of us, then they'll pick us. And obviously they didn't pick TSM. They're not stupid. They're not going to pull a Cloud9 2025. So they picked the easy team. So then you have C9 against TSM. And I mean, they were crushing TSM. It looked completely lost. And then Bjergsen happened. He has this incredible Akali play on the bottom side of the map where he just like, I don't know, he just had extra abilities on Akali or no cooldowns or something, but he completely outplays Cloud9 and brings momentum back to TSM. And all of a sudden, from a looking like, okay, Cloud9 just, obviously, as normal, Cloud9 just reverse sweep and just, they sweep TSM to TSM reverse sweeping and making it to finals. And then just like the idea that we made it to the finals and Team Liquid make it to the finals made it a very hype story because these teams are actually a lot closer. Like, I felt like if it was TSM, if it was Team Liquid versus Cloud9, people would have more confidence in Team Liquid because in the regular season, it didn't even look close. But because it was happening, and because right before there's a Hotline League episode where both owners basically bet 50K over like who's going to win, which later on Riot said is illegal, you can't do that. So it didn't end up happening, but they were just like betting and like trash talking each other right before the games, and then the games happen, and TSM are like bring in Zoe versus they bring in Lux versus Zoe. It's like what is going on? They brought in the Heimerdinger, like the picks, the bans, everything was crazy, and they won. They were up 2-0. Games three, Team Liquid come back completely. Game four was a stomp. I mean, it was just like nasty. And then game five, TSM had it. They had Infernal Soul. Like the game was won. You basically just wait for a Baron. Baron spawn. You all go in front of Baron. Team Liquid have nothing to do. They can't do anything. The game is completely over. And then Sven runs it down, gives them Baron. Even then, the game's not over because again, TSM have Cloud Soul. And then Sven tries to make up for his mistake, dashes into Jensen's LeBlanc and dies. And then they lose the game. And it's like, oh my god, this is the most incredible reverse sweep. Like this is the craziest story. If it was a stomp, I understand they figured out draft or whatever, but it was a case of like the game was won. You just threw that game, and right before the game started, during the opening ceremony, Jensen gets teased by Sven, and Sven is the one that gets cut out, and Jensen's the one that kills Sven, and it's like, oh my god! Like as a TSM fan, I was crushed. But just the storyline of this split was like so incredibly hype when it comes to finals.
And that's the thing, that was Jensen's first championship as well. Like we thought, like
that too, yeah.
I was thinking that going into like when they were down, and you're like, man, Jensen's still not going to win. Like after all this time, like he goes to the super team, still doesn't win. Like
CoreJJ came, he was like very by far the best support in the West. CoreJJ was so freaking good, and TSM was still gonna beat them.
And that's like that was before they had a double elim. So like that's why the reverse sweep onto C9 was so like agonizing for us, because we had that game 3 in the back up like a few thousand gold. I just remember vividly like Sneaky walking up mid for no reason with Jinx, dies, lose momentum, and then we lost the series. And I think that was the start of like the Niski arc, because Niski was a very, very, very good player. But in 2019, we didn't use Blabber as much as we did in 2018. Like Blabber actually,
I don't think he used them at all.
Like we
until the end.
He played like a couple of games here and there, but like he this was like he maybe was overused in 2018, like when he came in, because immediately following that Worlds we didn't really see him that much, and then
he was getting destroyed in scrims, so they were like, "No, we're not yet."
Well, that's the thing, like but then when he played with Niski, it was like clockwork. And I think that's what the inspiration was for the 2020 roster, even though, yeah. That split was wild, man. Because you had, like, that triangle, like you said. And, like, I never felt like we could touch TO in spring. Like, in summer, we actually end up would. And maybe we'll talk about it later on. But, yeah, like, that split was just... I wanted that 3 to go to Worlds, because you also had like that was the 100 Thieves randomly having Bang on their team. Like, what the fuck is that about? And they didn't make playoffs. They like, and like, yeah, it's just I don't know what else you could like really say. Like, you topped out really, really perfectly. It's just, and then that was the.
Was that on your list or no?
20. No, it wasn't. But
okay, good.
I can tell you my third, which was 2019 summer. That has no, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. That had for me the best finals we've ever had as a North American, in my opinion, in terms of maybe not in terms of like absolute cinema, in terms of how it ended up, but it was just these two like equal teams. By that point, we had reached TL's level, and like we were like neck and neck, and we even went up 2-1, absolutely stomping it, and it felt like Sneaky. It felt like, I don't want to accuse him of this, but like it felt like when Sneaky actually wants to, he's a very, very good player, but it never felt like he always tried hard enough, I felt. You felt in that final he was playing for his life. Like, this guy was rolling back the years, because he was picking, every game was picking hyper carries. And you're like, okay, like where have we seen this Sneaky? Because that was still like the Sneaky and Lane like memes that were still going on. Like, and he felt like really angry about it and wanted to prove a point. That was just like a beautiful finals, and even though I think the finals was kind of like marred by it was like a really bad opening ceremony, that song that played in the opening ceremony is actually better than whatever that was on the opening ceremony for that finals. But like, Yeah, like I'm literally just biased for that final alone. Like I thought that final was beautiful because it really set you up. You couldn't set a better way up for Worlds. It's like, right, you have TL who made MSI finals, and then you have C9 who are literally pushing them to their limit. And I remember in that game, between game 4 and 5, maybe actually no, sorry, after game 3, we tweeted Jensen's finally going to give us a championship,
Yes, yes, you
and
did.
then
He did
he
not.
did not. That'd be a few years
I have to wait
later.
till 2022 for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Just to add a detail to that split, that C9 team, I think, was actually favored to win the finals. Like it was, C9 had leveled up a lot, and you're right. Team Liquid did make it to the finals of MSI, but it looked like Cloud9 just caught up and were playing out of their minds. And it was a situation where like, yes, Impact was great, but Licorice was matching him. It was like pound for pound. Like Svenskeren was playing way better than Xmithy. It really did feel like you could match Team Liquid's individual prowess because they had some really good players, and you were just a better team.
And
Go
then,
ahead.
and then one of the actual greatest, in my opinion, runs in LCS history. It's still one of my favorites to this day. The Clutch Gaming Miracle Run. Like that was
I
just
don't like it very much. TSM
Yeah,
fan.
yeah. It's just you just couldn't write that because like I think it felt like the org was going out after that because I think Dig was coming in.
They
And
were
it's
already
just
bought by Dig, but they couldn't rename. Yes.
right, and like you just had this Hooney like return tour playing Lucian top every game and just fucking carrying his mind and like
He was
Demonte playing
smurfing.
well.
He was
Like
smurfing.
exactly,
Yeah.
like he took a dip after coming back and then literally just for that run he was picture perfect and one of the reasons they actually got to Worlds.
Yeah, I mean the only reason, like let's be honest, yes, Demonte had his champions as Kiana, like where he would play well, but like just to reminder, Clutch had to reverse sweep TSM in order to win. Like it was not like a close, it wasn't a stomp. Clutch wasn't like so head and shoulders above. We were having a lot of problems. Our like Acadian obviously had the drama with Sven, and so Acadian was no longer on the roster. The roster ended up we ended up like having freaking Grigne, who Armeo is known right now as Armeo, and like it wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And then eventually we bring in Spica, and like he was super young and raw, and we were still up 2-0, and then like just Huni just didn't want to lose. He just didn't want. He was like, no, I'd rather not. And he just made miracle after miracle, and I was like, it was at some point you're just like, what is this? Yeah, like this guy has like some plot armor or something.
And like the one thing I'll also just quickly touch on the finals, it was so nice as a fan as well to go into that. Like it's one of the rare instances where like you were going into that finals knowing both teams had locked worlds. So like this was just simply right now you just battle it out for the LCS championship, and that's all how it always should be in my opinion. It shouldn't be like, oh, it doesn't matter if you lose because you qualify for worlds. It's no, both teams are locked. You're just going to fight now.
I did not have that on my list either, but my third was actually 2018 spring. And honestly, this was almost first. Like these next three splits are so close that at some point I had this as like my first. But this split, let me just paint a picture for you. So 2017 summer just finished. Teams exploded. Right? Immortals out of the league. Like you have all of this weird stuff that's happening because franchising just happening. So all of a sudden, basically everybody besides Bjergsen was available. Team Liquid picked up Cobelter. They picked up Impact. They picked up Doublelift. Wait, Doublelift was just one on TSM. What happened? Oh my god, we brought in like an upgrade to Doublelift and Biofrost in Sven and Mithy. Like the best in the West. They were the best bot lane by far. They had made it to MSI finals. Like this was looking like the team that the bot lane that could the only possible upgrade to Doublelift. And obviously Doublelift had antagonized, or like there was drama between him and the owner of TSM. And so like it wasn't surprising that he left, or like that Reggie didn't want him. And then you get rid of Biofrost, and you get rid of Svenskeren, which I was very confused. And you bring in Mike Young, who like I thought was a horrible idea, but they're like, oh, we can teach him. We can he's mechanical, he's stupid about the game, but we have a genius in Mithy, right? Wrong. They also brought in Song, who's like a super high profile. Like even after that, he was high profile. Like coach comes in, you think like there's not a single Korean player. Why did you bring a Korean? Whatever. Who cares? Like this is a super team beyond any super team. 100 Thieves just joined the league. You had Clutch, I think, had just joined the league. Team Liquiders being like picked up Impact and Double Lift and Paul Belter. Like plus Ole, who just made it to Worlds, made it to LCS finals, the split before, and Smithy, who was like a two-time champion. Like this was supposed to be a super team that completely crumbled. This team was horrible. They barely made it into playoffs. Just to set the stage for you, this team was horrible. It was I think it was the closest split we've ever had. In the fact that I think there are 5 teams that were tied for first, if not 4.
No, it was 6 because we had a mini playoffs
All
that
6?
day. We had mini playoffs that day, and I remember C9 went from first to 5th, and we played Team Liquid in the first round of playoffs. And this is again before Double Elim, in what actually was the closest 3-0 I've ever seen in my life. Every single game, this was one of Sneaky's best performances because he played Ezreal most of the games, if not all of them, and he was smurfing out of his mind. He was outperforming Double Lift like really, really badly, but we just end up losing. It was like a wonky split because C9 were first the entire split, but you had like Echo Fox, 100 Thieves. You had everyone literally like so close, and then we lost to the last place team on the last day and then that's what set like the entire tiebreaker bracket.
Like the upset. So you had like 6.
And
we were teams,
we were the first game of the day, and we had like 9 games before we played again. It was like so stupid.
And the worst team was Team Liquid. Like this Team Liquid team was actually bad. They were dysfunctional, by the way. Just so you know, internally, like they've come out and said this. Double Lift was like absolutely bullying Ole. He was completely yelling at him and flaming him the entire time. He did not like Ole. Didn't even want to play with him. Like there was a reason Ole ended up benching himself when they went to MSI. But we'll get to that. Like this team was dysfunctional, and coming into playoffs, somehow, some way, they beat C9. God knows how. And then TSM had made every single finals coming into this, and they got an easy drop. They got Clutch. No one believed in Clutch. Okay, maybe Team Liquid weren't the worst. Maybe Clutch was the worst. But then, like, we crushed them. TSM crushed them game 1. You go into game 2, Apollo, Hakuho, like, they're losing. All of a sudden, Thresh hits 3 incredible hooks. The game completely flips. They win that game. They're like, whatever. It was one incredible game by Hakuho. And then he picks Thresh 3 games in a row and beats us every single game. You're like, why didn't you ban it? And like, how do you lose to Clutch? This is how you don't make finals? You made every single finals since LCS existed, and this is how you don't make it? Incredibly just like shocking news. And then you have it go 5-game series between Clutch and 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves end up making it to the finals off of like one of the closest, like just 5-game bangers. You could not predict who was going to win. You get 100 Thieves with Afromu into the finals, and then you get Double Lift making it there with Team Liquid, despite how dysfunctional this team is. And then a shocker happens right after they win, and Double Lift like has family members. Tragedy happens, like his family member passed away, and you're just like, oh my god! All of a sudden, Team Liquid have to find a new AD carry. What's going on? Double Lift says, no, I'm gonna play. You're like, dude, you're just gonna lose. How can you play after like such a tragic incident? Like, kudos to you for wanting to do this, but like, this must be like, this is unprecedented, you know? And he goes in and he 3-0s 100 Thieves, and it wasn't even close, and every game was a harder stomp than the next one, and you're just like, what is going on? Like, everything about it, just from, hey, this is franchising, hey, guess what? We're going to have a new champion, because up until then, only CLG, TSM, and Cloud9 have won the LCS. All of a sudden, we're getting a new champion. TSM don't even make it to the finals. Double Lift is somehow not on TSM or CLG. He gets to another team. Like, Cloud9 end up faltering at the last moment. 100 Thieves make it to the finals. It's a new org. What is going on? Like, so much happened. That one split felt like 2 years, honestly. That it definitely has to be one of the top 3 like splits of LCS history.
And in a way, that split calls the greatest LCS performance of Worlds, because that split caused C9 to bench Smoothie, bench Sneaky, bench Jensen for Keith, Golden Glue, and Zazel. Like, that's how detrimental that split was to actually one of the greatest like results in NA history. But I'll go on to my number 2, and you're gonna really like this one because you're gonna go into a lot.
Okay.
2015 summer.
That's my number 1. No.
Oh, no.
That's my number 1. All right, give it to us.
There is no other place to start than at the end. The back to back to back reverse sweeps from a team that was in literally the gutter, didn't make playoffs, but was able to, because they made finals in spring, was able to get enough points to qualify for the regional playoffs. Like, you have to talk about the Gauntlet run. That tournament is one of the most beautiful tournaments to ever exist, and I'm just going to be completely biased here. I'd love to bring that back. I know it's part of the playoffs now, but it's not really a gauntlet, is it? Like, it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't have that same, like, right, the split's over, the championship's decided, everyone's now coming back to the studio to now do this gauntlet. That's what I used to love about this gauntlet. And because we were good at it, like, let's be honest. Like, we were
because you abused it, you mean?
Exactly. But, like, that's just an amazing split. Like, that was the introduction of Jensen as well. Well, not that split, but you know what I mean.
No, it was summer. He
Was it
came
summer?
in summer.
Yeah, like, and I remember it being really, really rough. Even though, like, we were winning, he was having a really rough time with it. Like, I remember his first game against Bjergsen, he's down like 150.
AP Kog'Maw.
Yeah, he's down like 150 CS. Like,
they won the game.
We won the game, but he wasn't like contributing to that.
But, he didn't win, but he won the game.
But, like, by the end of it, like, Sneaky was playing Vayne in freaking Gauntlet, and, like, we developed a playstyle that we then abused at Worlds to get us 3-0, and then we got figured out with the Tristada and Morgana combination.
Yeah, they just started banning them.
And then, like, we're playing Veigar as well. Like, this is when we're beating, like, Fnatic.
Just Veigar, yeah, those were G champions.
Yeah, exactly. And, like...
Balls being in Diamond and then getting a pentakill in his first game. Like,
yeah.
that Worlds, man, yeah.
And, like, the CLG TSM Madison Square Garden final. Oh, that was just electric. And then the Doublelift finally, after so many attempts, finally winning his first championship. Like, it's just like a perfect ending to the year. Like, that's one of my like favorite. I will go back and watch it now. Like, I just love that split.
I'll actually paint a picture going into like a little bit more context. Starting from spring, TSM won spring. They had won 2014 summer. In 2015, they bring in Santorin. They have Lustboy, Wild Turtle. Like, they still have Dyrus and Bjergsen. And this team is like, basically like, so again, in spring, not only did they win spring, but they went to IEM, right? And they won IEM. This was the biggest thing that any Western team had ever done. We won an international tournament. Sure, it wasn't a Riot International tournament, but it had a lot more prestige because we won at Katowice. It wasn't like a random IEM, right? We won an IEM against GE Tigers, right? Which were Coup Tigers, right? They ended up like facing what's it called? SKT, right? Yeah. This was like an incredible team, the best LCK team at that time. And so it was a situation of like, oh my god, LCK just lost to TSM are the champions. And so coming into MSI, if you looked at the predictions, people are saying it's either going to be SKT, like at the time, right? T1 or TSM. Those were the favorites going into MSI. Like, people weren't even looking at EDG as a real like possibility. And then TSM crashes and burns. Fnatic make it to top 4. And then TSM come into summer. All of a sudden, are they really favorites? They were struggling really hard. Gravity with freaking LS was coaching this Gravity team. Gravity with Haunter top ended up finishing first seed. TSM barely make it to 6th seed for the summer split. And then you have a situation where Cloud9, who are the other finalists, don't even make it to playoffs because they don't know what they're doing with their, like, they end up bringing high jungle. Like, jungle, the situation was really bad for Cloud9 and TSM, who were literally the finalists of the previous split. And like, what is going on? There was a tiebreaker that was happening. Not a tiebreaker, but Team Liquid could have sandbagged one game and ended up finishing second instead of first, which would give them an easier matchup. And as a Team Liquid fan, at that time, I was a big Team Liquid fan. At that time, I was like, please don't win this game. Please don't win this game. Please don't win this game. And then they still win the game. And then they end up finishing first. And that makes it so they don't make it to Worlds. But we'll get to there. The other thing that happens that during the split, Keith ends up taking Wild Turtle's spot for a little bit. After taking Piglet's spot, you're like, what is going on? This TSM team is crumbling. Team Liquid have internal drama with Piglet. Like, Breaking Point comes out later, obviously, but like for the next year. But it was clearly dysfunctional. It was like, I Will Dominate was by far the best jungler, but his team wasn't helping him too much. Then Phoenix, all of a sudden, plays incredible. His Azir, like, all of a sudden, Team Liquid are the best team. Like, what is going on? And then you have Gravity and Team Liquid, who are like really the best teams. You felt, I think Gravity was third seed and TSM were sixth, and so they ended up playing. And then there was even like a trash talk where basically like I think Hansel was like, "You're never gonna beat us," and it was like a really good video. And at the end of the day, Dyrus picks like freaking Olaf. He just like completely pops off. Dyrus, who had been the biggest like weakness, is all of a sudden we're playing around him. He's a huge strength. We beat Gravity. We beat Team Liquid 3-1. Like, I think there's a situation where I Will Dominate was like 2,000 gold up, like had 6 kills or something, and the rest of his team was all completely destroyed. And it was like I Will Dominate versus the world. It didn't matter what he did. TSM was just a better team. And then same thing with CLG. Like, they make it all the way to the finals, and you're just like, okay, the way TSM are playing, there's no way CLG can win. There's just no way. But then CLG come in, and it's not even a 3-0. The fact that CLG won, it's the way they won. They came in, and they were like, we are going to target TSM's strength. With Zion Spartan's like, oh, give him the Gnar. I'll pick Yasuo. And so TSM end up having to, like, they could completely destroy top lane. So they're like, oh, what do? We have to pick Yasuo. And so they ended up picking like counter mid, because they know that they have to pick Yasuo, and Dyrus can't play Yasuo top. So now Paul Belter gets counter, and like our biggest strength in Bjergsen in the mid lane and Dyrus in the top lane are all of a sudden both countered. We had literally nothing that we could do. Double if Jinx was getting like kill after kill after kill. Like, it became a situation where you could not stop no matter what you did. CLG had completely and entirely destroyed us in draft. And it didn't matter what we did. They had an answer to everything. And the electricity of the biggest stadium we've had by far, MSG, like the roaring of the crowd, even as the losing team, and like being so sad because you could tell that we were getting destroyed. It was just like magnificent to see like these tens of thousands of people all just like losing their minds over the biggest rivalry. Just so you know, like obviously right now, FlyQuest and Team Liquid had the biggest rivalry, but in the past, TSM and CLG hated each other. Like, sure, CLG weren't like a top team anymore when LCS started, and like it was C9 and TSM that were always battling for first. But CLG still had some of the biggest streamers, had biggest personalities, and they were just like, if you were a TSM fan like I was, you hated CLG. Like, you wanted to see them get relegated. You hated them so much. And same thing for CLG. Anytime TSM won a game, you were spitting in their faces. And so the fact that CLG finally win on the biggest stage, like the first time they make it, they win. Just all of that was incredible. And then you had the gauntlet run, which you already talked about. Like, just to top it all off, poor I Will Dominate. Like, he didn't end up winning. But like, you had such an incredible story. And then another incredible story in the gauntlet run with the reverse sweep after 3-1. Like, what more? What more do you want?
And like the thing is that you didn't even touch on that was the beginning of what should have been the C9 core for the next year, because Team Impulse had Impact and Rush, who Rush up until you had like Rainover and then eventually like Blower, that was the most dominant jungler I'd seen like in a long time, since like the Meteos.
Rush Impact were running that team, yeah.
Exactly.
And like, Zhao Zhao got banned, which is why they had to bring in what was his name? I forget, but like they had to bring in someone else, which is why they ended up finishing 4th. But like maybe they would have lost anyways. But like one of their members got banned.
Yeah, and like
in the mid lane.
This is what C9 was intending for the 2016 thing, because up until like the import rule changed, they were planning to have Impact, Rush, Jensen, Sneaky, and who ended up being the support?
Wasn't it Bunny Fufu? They were planning on bringing in Bunny, and then it ended up being Smoothie later.
Yeah, it was Bunny Fufu.
Because Lemon had left at that time, right?
It was Bunny, or maybe High. Actually, I think High ended up being the.
Oh, High, you're right. Yeah.
I think that High was the support because their team could just not function without.
He played support a little bit as well.
He played everywhere just because that team could not function when High was off the team. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Shall I go on to my number 1?
All right, all you. Actually, let me do my number 2, because that was my number 1. Let me do my number 2, and then you can do your number 1. Actually, wait. What is your number one? It might be my number two.
2016 summer.
No, that is not my number two. So let me do my number two, and then you can do your number one. My number two is 2022 spring. And honestly, the reason it's there is just because like Team Liquid built a complete super team. And the super team wins lock-in. It looks like there's no way this team's gonna lose, right? They beat EG in the upper bracket finals. They made it all the way to the finals. Game one of the finals happens, and they were completely stomping EG. And then the Baron happens, and the Danny Penta happens. Oh no, I'm sorry. They didn't make it to the finals. They lost to 100 Thieves in the upper bracket finals in 5 games, and they end up meeting EG in the lower bracket. In the lower bracket finals, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what happened. They meet EG there, and they were like destroying EG. It looked like it was going to be again. They're just going to beat EG like they did last time. And then the Danny Penta happens, and they steal Baron. They lose that game, and the momentum completely changes. And it was one of the few times where nobody cared about Danny, and all of a sudden, the entire arena was chanting his name. It was the first time I saw in real time a player become a star. It wasn't after an incredible Worlds appearance. It wasn't after a series of things or lifting a championship. It was after one play that just shook the entire arena. And he became the most beloved AD carry. He ended up winning the split, became most beloved AD carry of that year. And it was just that story, that EG story of they were 9-9. They were not like now we know they were the best team, but nobody expected them to be the best team.
No.
Like this team had problems. And the fact that all of that happened was just like that the 100 Thieves were able to beat Team Liquid. It was very close. But the fact that they were able to beat Team Liquid, this super team roster was like kind of sort of working, right? Mm-hmm. Until that happened. I'm pretty sure that crushed them. That Danny Penta kill made it so that team was dysfunctional.
Yeah. And like, the thing is, like, that team should not, like, not that team should not have won, but if you look at it on paper, like, even like the 100 Thieves roster and like going down the list, like there's no way Team Liquid should not be winning the LCS with that roster. Like if you look at the rosters on paper, because like
it was Core JJ, Hans Sama, Bwipo, Santorin, and Bjergsen, who had just come back from retirement and was playing well.
And like even though Inspired's like popping up in EU, like he left on like a really sound note. Vulcan was on the downwards after leaving C9 because like the 2020 thing happened, and then 2021 was complete shit show. Even though that they did make it to World's Quarters in that thing, you had in that split specifically for the first 4 games, you had the LS era of C9, where he was playing all these innovative things. Like we're playing freaking Soraka, and we're playing Ivan mid, and like he was just looking.
He wasn't there. He wasn't on that roster.
LS was the
2022.
No,
Vulcan
spring.
wasn't on 2022. He wasn't. He was on EG.
That's what I said on EG. I'm saying like I'm talking about. I was going through the EG roster.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying Vulcan was on Cloud9. I was like, no, he wasn't.
No, and then you had like the LA roster where you brought in Berserker, who like his career speaks to himself in the LCS. You had Winsome, who completely plucked out of left field. No one had heard of this guy. Summit, who, I mean, he's one of the most like disliked figures in
MVP of the split.
He was MVP of the split, but like he was so obviously apparently toxic, and like this guy immediately picked up his MVP trophy, bounced, never saw him again in LCS.
He came back in 2023 and made it to Worlds actually.
True,
with Team Liquid.
Actually. True. But
also just to say, one of the things that made 2022's spring like the most hype split, which is why I have it as my number 2, is LS. LS joined, and like that Cloud9 team, it was 2 weeks, but it was the most fun 2 weeks of Cloud9. Or was it 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, but like if you saw, well, like we had it longer because like we had like all the boot camps, and we had Korean boot camps where we were playing in houses versus I think some LS's friends
had like Academy, right?
Yeah, and you also had like Revan and stuff playing because Revan was part of our team back then. And then, like, if you looked at our statistics on YouTube, our views were in like 300, 400,000 every single episode that he was on, like that year. Like that was like an absurd amount of following, and like that that signing ended up, in my opinion, being one of the worst in our history, just because it's still, I think, tainting us to this day in terms of like the hate that we get for this organization. But we'll move on.
All right, hit me with your number one. 2016 spring, you said, or summer?
2016 summer. I had
Summer. Okay, you
never
already talked about spring. That's right. Yeah.
I had never believed in a team more than I believed in that 2016 TSM roster. Like in summer, just everything about them was driven towards we want to win the world championship that year in NA in their home yard, and like I forgot their series name. What was their series name? Because everyone had a freaking documentary series at that time.
Legends. TSM
Legends, like
Legends.
incredibly well done. Like I'm not saying I was a TSM fan, but like I watched that every week, even though I hated them because it was genuinely intriguing watching everything behind the scenes from that like team, and because like they were rivals, so like you wanted to like keep up with what's going on. Like I and like you always spoke about like they always spoke about the drive and being like working hard on everyone, and then like you saw when they actually were at Worlds, the scrim, like the league scrims where they're apparently beating SKT, and like it's just you wanted to believe, and then like the opening, like this is just I'm kind of picturing like the summer and Worlds because I think like they're very important, and like the opening ceremony where like you had cheers for CLG and then you had bigger cheers for C9, then you just had like a thunderous roar for TSM, and like when you had every team on stage and like they were all reacting to like the crowd chanting TSM, like you really felt that they were going to do it. And because like if you actually looked at what their playoff run would have been if they would have got out of groups, they would have made finals because they would have beaten C9.
They were,
Because
just to be clear,
like they would have
they
beaten
were a
C9.
top 4 team in the world.
Yeah, like they would have beaten C9 because like I'm not saying C9's bad, but they're better than them, and then they would have beaten H2K, in my opinion. Like I know some EU fans do not want to admit that.
Easily. It wouldn't even be close.
Right. So and then they would have made finals where they would have lost. But even then, like I will, in another life, I'd love to. Even as a like, I don't like TSM, and I'm so glad they're in the ground. I would have loved to have seen what an arena would have been like with an NA team in NA for a Worlds Finals at that time when
Yeah.
LCS was booming.
I mean, that was just the group of death. We literally got RNG and Samsung, probably number
like
2 and number 3
yes,
best teams in the world.
I mean,
like,
let's be real. We can say it's the group of death, but TSM was one of the reasons it was the group of death, and they were the reason they didn't get out. Like it wasn't because of RNG and Gen G at that time.
no, but my point is, give them any other group, and they would have made it out. Because
I agree.
My point is
like
that was literally the number 1 seed from like the number 2 for RNG, who was probably the best like Chinese team, and then the second best LCK team. And I think if you were to rank like the top 4 teams in the world, it would have been SKT, RNG, Samsung, RNG, and TSM. And the fact that 3 of them were in one group, like it doesn't matter who didn't make it out. It was unfortunate that it was TSM, but like one of those teams was drastically better than Albus Nox Luna or Cloud9 or like was it WE?
IMA.
No, who was the
we had IMA in our group.
Yeah, like we were better than them, so it was unfortunate, but it is what it is. Like that's the luck of the draw.
Yeah, the only reason I never liked to complain about it is because it was literally like it wasn't an LCK diff why you went out, because it was a double if Losty's mind. Like any player at that Worlds would have like just pressed R a second, the Lucian dashes in front of you. It's like, okay, well, like any half decent player is killing you there. So like I didn't feel like it was an LCK diff why TSM went up. But like yeah, you did have a
That was the only game that we lost though, because we beat Samsung, but we lost the first game. We were crushing RNG, and then RNG like Mako on his Alistar. Like Mako literally won the first game of Worlds by himself. That RNG team was losing. Like Sven Scared was going into the jungle on Lee Sin and just solo killing their jungler. It was like a stomp, but just Alistar, not Mako, sorry. Yeah, Mako on Alistar was just like a god.
Yeah. What's your number one again?
So I already talked about my number one 2015 summer, but I do think the other thing about 2016 summer was the finals with the double exclusion. That was like
Oh, and the
that
thing
was so
is,
hype. That was so hype.
the scoreline actually flatters TSM in that finals because I think it should like a world class play like that was the reason it wasn't a 5 game series because we were
Yes.
comfortably winning, well, not comfortably winning, but like we were in the driving seat in that game, and like a double lift insane moment is the reason why we didn't like. It is what it is. Because I thought we played
It
good in that
happens.
fight.
Like you
I
can't
thought we
complain.
played good in that fight, and the thing we didn't even touch on is like the Immortals collapse because that like
Yes.
you brought on Huni and Rainover from Fnatic, most dominant Western like duo at that time because they went 18-0 in LCS and then EU LCS at the time, and then
17 and
they went
1 in
17-1 in
spring and
spring,
16 and 2
15-2
in
in summer,
summer.
but they never got it done. Like they lost to scene. Like that was one of the
It was a
series
5 game nail biter though.
it was like, but that was like I felt like the decline of Huni in some ways, or like the exposed. Like that was the first time I felt like he really got exposed because that was a rough series for me because the Impact was freaking solo killing him every time, and it's like that was where the top die meme like occurred. And like
Yeah, but it was Impact. I mean, come on. Like when a world champion like beats you, like do you really complain? Like not really.
no,
All right, there you have it. Those are our top 5. I think we agreed on 2 of them, if I'm not mistaken. 2015 summer and 2020 summer. I think we both had on our lists.
mm-hmm.
Um, which tells you to like how incredible those were. I do think 2016 summer also like could definitely be up there. It's just there are a lot of really cool splits.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel like none of them are in the past like 2 or 3 years. I think the closest I had was my honorable mention of the 2024 summer, but even then, like I think the most hype one in the past like five years would have been 2022 spring.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us put like 2021 or 2023 at all on there, or 2024. So 2025 wasn't even LCS. So I mean, what can you say?
Yep. I'm not putting any of those spots on there.
Yeah, but hopefully in 2026 we get LCS back and we can start putting those splits on this. But yeah, let us know if you like stuff like this. Obviously, it's the off season, so we have more liberty of talking about things that like excite us. And this was like really cool. We will have an episode on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern where we will be talking about how to make LCS great again because I think it's a very we need to put in a lot of effort in order to make sure that the return of LCS is not just the name that returns, but it's the hype, it's the the glory days that are coming back with it. So that we're gonna have that discussion as well. And yeah, let us know what you guys think of the episode in the comments. And we'll do you have any shout outs, Martin?
Just shout out everyone like that's come tune. Like we haven't been back since Worlds. Shout out to Cloud as well for doing every single episode of Worlds. Like it was not like something in the card to me as much as I'd wanted it to, but like shout out to Cloud for doing all that, and shout out to David and Paul for agreeing to come on for Saturday. Like I'm really looking forward to that episode just because like me and you have been already going back and forth in like our own personal chats. So like I'm looking forward to next year. And because we get to find it because I haven't like we didn't talk about the new rosters this episode, so like we still have that to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely touch on the rosters. We're not gonna like just skip that. And then for myself, I have a couple interviews that are gonna be coming out. I do like an annual one with Revan. So that should be coming out. I also did an interview with Basil. So that should be coming out as well. So just keep an eye out. I have some interviews coming out. And yeah, I think that's all my shout outs.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great day, guys.